My name's David Thomas. I'm the President and CEO of Clear Mountain Bank. My main office is in Brewston, but I also have an office in Suncrest, and I bounce around a lot between the branches. So I'm usually out of the office more than I'm in the office some days, but headquarters is in Brewston. You know, our bank enjoys a long, proud and rich history. We've been around for well over 100 years. Our roots go back to two small community banks that were founded in Preston County. One being the Terralta Bank, which I believe was founded in 1891, and the Brewston Bank, which was founded in the early 1900s. And those were two banks that were formed to meet the needs of their town in terms of, you know, banking services. And those two banks operated independently for decades. Fast forward to the early 1980s, that's probably the most significant change in terms of those banks branching out, if you will. Prior to that, banks weren't allowed to branch in the state of West Virginia. But once 1982 rolled around and the change in the law allowed branch banking, Brewston Bank at that time took advantage of that opportunity. I actually opened a branch in Reedsville on the first day that branches were permitted to operate in West Virginia. So we were kind of on the cutting edge there. And then Brewston Bank continued to do some additional branching into Kingwood, I think next, then over into Monongalia County. And the Terralta Bank also took advantage of the branch banking opportunities. They opened up a branch over in Oakland, Maryland in 1987, I believe. And so those two banks, even after they branched out a little bit, continued to operate under those two names. The banks did become under common ownership of State Bancorp, which is the holding company for both banks. So in 2005, the two banks combined. Did that for a couple of reasons. One was for efficiencies, but also as the banks started to branch out into different communities, it made sense to kind of rebrand the banks to have one name that everyone could identify with. And the name Clear Mountain Bank was chosen, which was an appropriate name for all the communities. From there, the bank continued to grow. Our story really has been one of growth over many, many decades, and that continued after the banks combined under the name Clear Mountain Bank. We're currently in four counties. We're in Harrison, Monongalia, and Preston in West Virginia, and Garrett County in Maryland. Well, I guess you could say that I've been around the bank my entire life. You know, I've had a lot of family members that have been closely involved with the bank. You know, as I think back on my childhood, my grandfather was chairman of the board. My father worked at the bank for a number of years. My brother was president and CEO of the bank for a number of years. And so in some form or fashion, I've always kind of been around the bank. And I guess my generation represents the fourth generation of our family being involved in the bank, and my nephew Chase is now on board, so I guess he represents the fifth generation. So it's been, it's kind of in the family, I guess. It's been part of our family for a number of years. And so I guess in some form or fashion, I've been around it my entire life. I officially took a position with the bank in 2003 when I became a director. I mentioned that my grandfather was chairman of the board, and he'd served on the board for many, many decades. And I took his seat on the board when he passed away and served on the board for a number of years. Now at that time I was practicing law, so before coming over to my current position, I was practicing law locally here in Morgantown. And my primary practice was banking law, so I had the good fortune of working with a number of community banks across the state of West Virginia. I came to my current position as President and CEO in January of 17. My brother, as I mentioned, was the president for a number of years, and unfortunately he passed away in August of 16. And so the board approached me and asked me if I would be interested in coming over and taking on the role of president and CEO. And I did, because it means a lot to me personally, it means a lot to our family, and so that's when I made the transition over to my current role. And so I've been in my current role since January of 2017. So in my role as President and CEO of the bank, I am generally responsible for kind of overseeing the efforts to, I don't like that. Let's retake that. You want to ask that again? Yeah.
Dave, tell us a little about your role with the bank. What do you do?
Okay, so that changes from day to day. My role at the bank, no, I didn't like that. That's not true. My role doesn't change. What I do changes from day to day. Okay, let's back up. I got your question, so you don't need to repeat the question. My role at the bank really is just to kind of provide general oversight and guidance to make sure that we're running the bank in a safe, sound, and profitable manner. There are a lot of facets to that, and a lot of that involves working very closely with the senior management team. So we have a very talented, very seasoned senior management team. I rely on them a lot to make sure that the various departments of the bank are taken care of, but it's kind of my job to make sure that we have a strategic vision of where we want to get to, and then to try to make sure that we're executing on that strategic plan to accomplish what we want to accomplish. So a second role that I play is working very closely with the board of directors. The board of directors is kind of like my boss. They kind of supervise what I'm doing, and so I work very closely with them in terms of providing them with the information that they need to stay informed about what the bank's doing. They obviously help set strategic vision, but rely on me and the rest of the management team to execute that strategic vision. So a second role that I play is to work very closely with the board of directors. A third facet of my job would also be to work with our shareholders. We have between 140 and 150 shareholders at any given time. We're not publicly traded, and so there's it's not like folks can go out to a broker and buy our stock. It's one of the blessings that we have is that we're privately owned and we're not publicly traded. But because of that, we have to kind of serve as that liaison to the shareholders. And so if shareholders have questions, part of my role is to interact with shareholders. I share information with them so that they know how the bank's doing. I also serve as kind of the representative of the bank in the community, if you will. So whether it's going to outside organizational events, nonprofit boards, trade associations, interacting with other banks, interacting with regulators, I tend to be the liaison between the bank and outside organizations as well. So what I like most about working at the bank is just the opportunities it gives me to really become involved in the community and to hopefully have an impact on the community that's very positive. So I think our bank is very connected to the communities that we serve. And so whether it's helping a family realize the dream of home ownership by making them their first loan, or helping a small business to get started, or supporting a local nonprofit. We have a lot of opportunities every day to really have a positive impact on our communities, and I think that's what I enjoy the most about it, is just the opportunities it presents to do that. Well, I don't have a lot of personal hobbies like golf or fishing or those kinds of things, but when I do have spare time, I like to spend it with family. I have a wife and 2 kids. And so most of my spare time I spend with them doing family activities. We like to ski, so in the winter, most weekends we're off skiing as a family. In the summer, we like to go out on our pontoon boat at Cheat Lake, and so most of my time away from the bank is spent with my family doing family activities like that. Well, I want to personally welcome you to Clear Mountain Bank. I think that you'll find that this is a very unique and special place. We have a long history that dates back well over 100 years, and we're always trying to grow. We're always trying to make ourselves better. So I certainly welcome any feedback, any questions, any suggestions that you may have. You're going to be hearing from other members of our management team, and I hope that you find that information to be useful. I look forward to meeting you in person, look forward to getting you to sign our book from our Rootstar branches that every new team member signs. And so I look forward to getting to know you and want to just, again, welcome you aboard.
I'm Randall Underwood, Chief Banking Officer. My office is at the Pierpont branch. Well, as we record this session, I have a 45-year history in banking. So I've seen a great many changes in the industry. Had the opportunity to serve in 2 different banks in the CEO role and a number of other functions. Those were with community banks, a number of functions with large regional bank, and then came to Clear Mountain Bank to be the Chief Banking Officer in June of 2015. Well, at Clear Mountain Bank, as Chief Banking Officer, my role is to try to pull together the frontline operations that we have now, help them work together. So that goes across the board, everything from the retail side of the bank to the buildings themselves, to our investment advisors, through commercial lending, mortgage lending, and at the same time look forward in terms of what we may need to look like in 5 years and what the bank may need to be focusing on to be successful in 5 years and 10 years. So I get the privilege of looking ahead at the same time that I'm dealing with things we're working on at this moment. Reporting to me are all the customer-facing teams in the bank. Ultimately, we have department managers that look after that, and we have really good folks in those department manager roles, so that's tremendously helpful and beneficial to the bank. But our retail team is an excellent group of people staffing our branch network, making things work out there so that our customers are taken care of on an efficient basis. Our mortgage team is one of the best around. We routinely outproduce any other mortgage origination group in this part of the state. So good leadership, good people in those roles. Our commercial lending group is spread across our footprint, but they tend to be the loan generation engine for the bank. Our bigger loans come from there. A lot of referrals to other departments in the bank come from there. So we have a very nice group of folks out there that are working not just on loans, but we also spend time there with cash management and treasury issues to help our business customers manage the flow of funds, the money that they have that comes through their account. Then there's, of course, our investment advisory group, which we've built out in the last couple of years with 2 really good advisors focusing more on planning, helping our clients look forward to the future. What do they need to plan for, whether it's retirement, whether it's succession planning for their business. It might be something as simple as planning for their children's education, maybe even a plan to buy a beach home. But all of those plans need to work together, and so in that capacity we can do short and long-term planning with the client if we get the chance to sit down with them and talk through those objectives, as opposed to just being a transactional operation where we buy or sell a particular investment instrument. We still can do that, but that's not the focus of that department. And then lastly, the facilities arena reports to me. And so there we're not only looking at what we need right now, and then also looking at what banking is going to look like in the future, 3-5 years from now. Nobody really knows. But we actually spend a great deal of time studying what other banks do and are doing and are thinking about, and where other banks think this thing is going to be in 5 years. So there's a great deal of effort being exerted, if you will, towards looking at where we need to be and what we need to look like 5 years from now. I think working at Clear Mountain Bank is all about community. It's about looking at what not just what a county needs or a particular organization needs, but what does a small town need? What does a group in a small town need? What's important in that community? So so we're able to make that decision quickly. We're able to make that decision locally. So somebody in another city that's hundreds of miles away is not deciding what product or what event we get involved in Terra Alta or in Oakland, Maryland, or in Bridgeport. We get to do all that here. We get to do that every single day. When I'm not at work, my wife and I very much enjoy engaging with our family. Our children are grown and gone, and they have very interesting lives of their own. And so, in particular, we love spending time with them. In some cases, that requires some travel, which is perfectly fine. We have extended family that there's always something going on in our family somewhere, and so we get an opportunity to go see some of our family that maybe we haven't been able to see for quite some time, and so most of our weekends are taken up with that kind of activity, built entirely around family, and I don't think we'd have it any other way.
My name is Clint McCabe. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Clear Mountain Bank. I work in Brewston Mills. I'm in the Great Oaks building in Brewston Mills. I started with Clear Mountain Bank in 2005. I have a marketing background, so I started as the bank's marketing director in 2005, and I held that position for 11 years. I was named COO in 2016, and I've been doing that ever since. In my role as COO, I work with a few different departments that provide support to the bank's customers and employees. Those would include human resources, marketing, and loan servicing. I serve on different committees within the bank and special projects, and that would include things such as new product development, new technologies that are being rolled out, employee benefit programs, and those sorts of things. Ultimately, I'm responsible to make sure that the bank has proper procedures and structure in place to ensure that we're operating in an efficient manner across the organization. The teams that I oversee provide a great deal of support to both the employees and the customers of the bank. Human Resources really manages the overall employee experience at Clear Mountain Bank, and that includes things such as payroll, benefits, health insurance plan, 401k, training, hiring of new employees. Marketing manages the advertising and marketing for the bank, and that includes such things as public relations, the website, social media, as well as corporate contributions and donations that the bank makes in our communities. Loan servicing really works to ensure that any loan that a customer takes out with Clear Mountain Bank is booked in our system properly, and they continue to maintenance that loan during the life of that relationship, and that includes billings, payments, processing, tracking things on the loan such as taxes, insurance, and those sorts of things. What I enjoy most about working for Clear Mountain Bank is that I think as an employee here, you have an opportunity to make a difference. We make a difference every day in the lives of the customers that we serve. If you want to make a difference in the communities that the bank serves, the bank gives you an opportunity to do that. If you want to make a difference in your career, I think the bank gives you the tools and the resources necessary to better yourself and better your career here. And I like the people I work with, so that helps too. Outside of work, I'm a terrible golfer, so I don't play much golf, but I do enjoy spending time with my family. We like to travel, we like to get outside and be outdoors, so you'll find us hiking, playing sports, up at Cooper's Rock, doing different things.
My name is Jeff Smith. I'm the Chief Financial Officer at Clear Mountain Bank. There are 3 Jeffs in operations, so if you like, you can call me Smitty. I've been with the bank 6 years now, and prior to my Chief Financial Officer position, I was the controller for the bank. Prior to that, I spent 23 years at Glenmark Holding as a Chief Financial Officer working in the construction business. As far as banking, that can even go back a little further because I originally was a CPA working for a public accounting firm, and I was a bank auditor for 4 years. Well, what Jeff does at the bank is the main accountant for the bank, if you want to call it that. We work with every department of the bank. So we have interaction with from beginning to end, except maybe with the customer. The customer faces with the tellers and with the bank operation. We do the daily financials, we do work with auditors, we work with the regulators, so we're always busy talking to somebody. My team consists of myself and 4 additional employees. We work with every department within the bank. We work with payables, we do wires, we try to respond to any question that we have within the departments of the bank. We consider the other individuals in the bank to be just like the customers that are coming into the bank, to be very responsive and very quick to respond. Believe it or not, I enjoy coming to Brewston. I've been in Morgantown for many, many years, and I do not miss the traffic. I love the people that I work with. It's an enjoyable trip in the morning, and I'm very, very comfortable with the bank. Well, I've had a very busy life, so I enjoy weekend trips. I do a lot of construction work with my brother. He has a new home, and I go down and help him work with his home, and spend a lot of time with my family. My mom is currently in a nursing home, so I spend a lot of time helping out at the nursing home.
Hi, I'm Kylie Jenkins. I'm the Chief Information Officer, and I work in Brewston Mills in operations. My history with Clear Mountain Bank, I've worked for the bank for 23 years. I've been a teller, I've been an IT manager, Vice President of Operations, and now Chief Information Officer. As Chief Information Officer, I make executive decisions on the purchasing of IT equipment, on setting up new systems, implementing new systems, and the management of those systems. I also work with vendors who help us support our systems. The teams that report to me are, of course, the Information Technology Department. They help support our servers, our PCs, our network, and they also support the users of those systems, which would be the employees of the bank. I also manage the bookkeeping department, which handles most of the deposit operations in the bank. They work with processing transactions, both checks and electronic transactions. They also make and process debit cards and help answer any questions any employees have on those. What I enjoy most about working at Clear Mountain Bank is the community focus that the bank has, especially with the Clear Mountain Cares program and other things that we do for the community. I also really enjoy the people I work with, so they make the day enjoyable. Outside of work, I have 2 small children, so I'm pretty busy, but I enjoy spending time with my family, playing Switch with my son, or Legos. And I don't have a lot of time to do so, but I do enjoy working on stained glass projects.
I'm Roger Hardesty. I'm chairman of the board of the bank board of directors. Outside the bank, I'm a certified public accountant, and I own my own accounting firm. I've been a bank director for 18 years, and I've been chairman of the board for approximately 7. The chairman of the board is basically a leadership role. I'm elected by the board of directors to serve as a leader and spokesperson for the board. My duties are various. I preside over the monthly board meetings. I appoint members to the various committees of the board. I think my primary responsibility is to ensure that the board of directors set and implement the strategic goals of the bank. As far as the overall board itself, its primary function is to safeguard the assets of the bank and to provide a reasonable return to the owners. It does that through its oversight authority. It's responsible for hiring a competent management team, and we oversee how that management team performs. There are basically 2 members or two individuals who work for the bank who do report directly to the board of directors. One of those is the Chief Executive Officer, which is David Thomas, and serves on the bank board as well. He reports to the board on a monthly basis. He provides us with various financial reports that we review. He brings any issues or matters to the board that need our attention and a decision. The other individual is Jeff Guntner, who has a very important role with the bank. He's our officer in charge of audit and compliance. He's responsible for making sure the bank follows the rules and regulations and also our own internal policies, and for the accuracy of the financial reporting, the accuracy of the financial records. He is totally independent of the management of the bank. He reports directly to the audit committee of the board. The audit committee of the board is comprised solely of outside directors, which means if a director works for the bank, he cannot participate and be on the audit committee. There's a board of directors for State Bancorp, and there's a board of directors for Clear Mountain Bank. Clear Mountain Bank is a 100% owned subsidiary of State Bancorp. State Bancorp is owned by the shareholders. The shareholders elect the directors to State Bancorp. The directors of State Bancorp, in turn, elect the directors for Clear Mountain Bank. Currently, there are 6 directors serving on State Bancorp's board. 2 directors are elected annually to serve a 3-year term. They meet on an annual basis or periodically throughout the year as the need arises. The directors of State Bancorp, on an annual basis, elect the directors of Clear Mountain Bank, and there are 8 directors on Clear Mountain Bank. Those directors meet monthly. The thing I enjoy most is probably the same thing I enjoy about owning my own business, is being able to participate and be involved in something that's growing and successful. In summation, I'd just like to say that a very learned individual told me when I first started my business that the most valuable asset I could have and what would determine my success were my employees. Clear Mountain Bank is growing and is very successful, and that is a direct result of our employees. I'm very glad you selected Clear Mountain Bank as a place to work, and I hope you enjoy your time with us.